Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the artclasses.com. Today I am going to show you how I paint this portrait. I haven't uploaded a video in a while, probably a few weeks. I've been busy with work and classes and stuff. This video basically I'm just playing around with the portrait and the brushes and the texture and light and shadow. As you can see, I'm experimenting with like the light coming from here and then you casting the shadow onto the face, and then you see like the strong light as the sunlight shining through here, and then the strong light around this area, and then you're gonna cast shadow on the other side of the face because you have that blocking area over there. So this video I'm gonna show you, it took me about a little over an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but total probably around 2 hours because I make some adjustment, adding some freckle and stuff. I use Photoshop CS5 and Wacom tablet, and if you want to see a pencil drawing, you can go to my channel. There's some basic pencil drawing video, and if this video is a little too fast for you, then you can go see more video on my channel. There's like over 400 something video from basic to, or you can just click on the top right corner, you see some basic Photoshop video that if you're kind of new to Photoshop, maybe you could look at that playlist and take a look at that. But if you've seen my video already, then you can just go ahead and proceed. I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit because it's like a little bit over an hour, and I don't want this to be that long, so I'm just gonna shrink it down to maybe about half an hour or 40 minutes. I don't know, depends on how long I can talk. Anyways, well, I guess let's get started. Also, I forgot one thing. From now on, I'm just going to give away every one seat of the class every now and then, usually whenever the new class can start. This time, I'm going to give away one seat for the Digital Painting 101 workshop. It's a live class via Google Hangout, 1 hour each week. So this one is from January 16 to February 13, every Saturday morning US time. Just go to theartclasses.com, click on classes, and then you know the detail. And you click on here, you see the detail in here. So that will be one seat giveaway, and I'll tell you how to enter the giveaway and how to get there at the end of the video. So stay tuned, and then you get one spot. The class starts from January 16 to February 13, 2016. So now let's get started for real. Alright, enjoy the video, and then at the end of the video I'll tell you how to enter to get the free seat at the class. And if you're interested in registering for the class, just register. You don't have to like enter because it's probably gonna be a lot of people, and it's only like it's limited at 5 seats, so there's gonna be 5 or 6 people there in the class. It's not a big class. I never have a big class because I can't get to everybody. Usually it's a small class. Or if you're interested in mentorship, just go there. Alright, let's get started. I talk too much. So I start off with the blank canvas with sort of like a little bit green with desaturated light green, basically a really desaturated green. If you look at HSB, it's about like 6 saturation, so it's almost gray, but it still looks green. Then I make another layer on top of the background layer. So usually I'll start making a silhouette, and this I'm trying to make a hat using just the default brush, and my opacity usually varies, and now I use just 100% opacity, but I can go really light and I will get a really light value. And then I think the hat was too big, so I shrink it down a little bit, and then I pick the light value and go 100% and pick that's gonna be basically gonna be the value of my the skin tone of the female portrait I'm painting now. So I'm just filling in the arm, the body area, and maybe just the hand, kind of right there. So it's pretty rough. A lot of people are like, I just noticed a lot of my students or people are not comfortable with just putting the silhouette right away. It's gonna take a while to get used to it. You can just draw a line first, you know, like line to sketch will be a construction line, then you fill in the value inside the line later, and then you probably get the same result. It's probably just going to be a little bit longer because if you fill in the shape right away, it's usually a lot faster when you're doing this type of speed painting. but it's a little over an hour, so I'm not really sure if this is speed painting. It's not quite a speed painting because it's an hour and a half or so. So it's more like a painting. I kind of got carried away. I thought I was gonna spend less than an hour to do this, but then I got a little bit carried away and paint the skin tone and try to get something more nice. So now I have really base value. So you see there's two value. Oops. And then I turn the silhouette of the hat into the overlay. Basically, I make a copy of it and I turn it into overlay. And now I make a copy of the body, the layer for the body, and turn it into overlay and fill in the color for the skin. So I just paint it once and then fill in the color for the body and fill in the color for the hat, which just has the exact same shape, and then I just kind of turn it into the color. I think this is a little too fast, but I think you probably can follow it well. So, and then I'm making another layer on top. So as you can see, there's like, I'm just gonna pause it here for a little bit. So you can see like this is exactly the same. This is what I paint to begin with, which is the hat, darker value, and I make a copy of that layer, turn it into red, turn it into overlay. And then there's the body, right? The part of the body silhouette of the gray. Then I make a copy of it, fill in with the skin color that I want, turn it into overlay, and then paint on top. That's how I got these two. If that clip's going a little bit too fast. And then now I make a normal layer, and I'm trying to put the light onto this hat. I'm trying to define the light and shadow. So let's get on with this. So now I'm tweaking the shape a little bit more, trying to get the big hat to cover her head, just using a lighter value of the red. Now I'm going to her skin, trying to figure out how much light and shadow I could give, and then within the hat itself is probably going to be like some sort of occlusion shadow. That's why I skip that kind of really deep dark inside the hat, like especially the area that are kind of dark in there that the light couldn't reach. Then just painting the kind of occlusion and cast shadow, and kind of as it come out toward the outer side of the hat piece, then it gets lighter. And then same as the face, like the deeper it goes into the inside of the hat, it's going to be kind of darker, and as it come out, it's going to be a little bit lighter. But it's not going to be like gradient. It's going to be a little more consistent, or flat value for the shadow. So now I'm trying to keep the flat value for the shadow for the face, her neck, and now I'm adding some part of her tank top right there. Then I'm going to add some shadow on the underside of the arm, and then a little shadow on the opposite side of the light, which is the light's coming from the top top left of the screen, and then the right side is going to be shadow. So now I'm just laying out the light and shadow value, tweaking the shape a little more, and the shape and the silhouette is really important. You should focus on the shape before you start doing any detail. And if you got the shape right and you got the silhouette right, you got the value right, detail will only enhance it. But if you don't have the right shape, the right value, the correct, then the detail won't really matter, because if you have the lighting wrong, everything's gonna come out not looking good. So now I'm adding another layer on top and adding some hair using the texture brush, and I think trying to make a blonde hair here, but it's a little too yellow. But I would kind of keep it there for now, and then I would, I could possibly tweak it and desaturate it a little bit, because most of the time blonde are not really too yellow. They are a little more platinum, or a little more desaturated than you think. They're not as yellow. They're more like metallic, or when you render the blonde, it's kind of like metal, and especially it's translucent, because most hair are really translucent. You can like see through them, and the lighter the hair color, the more translucent they are. So here, adding a little bit more shadow and some hair inside that on top layer. Then I'm using dodge, and just dodge the part that get hit by the light. Then I make a copy of everything, merge everything down. So now I merge everything down into one piece except the background. So all these the hat and the girl and the hair, they're all in one layer now. Then I'm using dodge and dodging the part that will strongly get hit by the light, like the part that of the face that came right out of the shadow, which is the part that the shadow cast from the hat, and then the shoulder. So now I can see a little form coming out, like this is the big form, and then now I'm just gonna start to kind of zoning in and adding her feature. But before that, I'm gonna correct the silhouette of the hat a little bit, because the top part is a little too tall, so erase it. Then I'm adding some shadow onto underneath her nose, then shadow on the upper lips. The lower lips will get the light, and the right side of the face can get some shadow because the lighting is coming from the left, so it's gonna have a little bit of kind of shadow transition to go into form. And then now I'm just trying to get the base structure for the face, adding a little bit of eyelash. This part gonna take quite a bit of time to get, you know, if I want to get exactly the face right. But the reason I kind of zoom out, a lot of people ask me why do I like zoom out that way all the time, because at this point I don't want to zoom in. I want to see if the light and shadow fit within the round, because if you zoom in too soon, then you're not going to focus on this. So now I'm looking at big picture and trying to see if the light and shadow fit, and trying to rearrange the light and shadow, because like if you zoom in, you won't be able to see the overall picture, and you will kind of lose sight of what you're trying to do as the overall. You focus on a little bit more on detail, and at this point there's nothing here that you should be focusing on detail yet, because everything is still not in place. Until I got everything in place, like I got the nose in the right position, the eyes in the right position, the hat, and every light and shadow in the right position, then I will start to zoom in and focusing on a little more detail. But at this point we are not even there. I'm just kind of tweaking the shape. So everything basically is all about shape, like how you rearrange them, like the shape of that flat value on the side of her face, and now we got a little subtle shadow value on the lower part of her face, because the light gonna hit pretty hard on the middle of her face, because it's kind of the casting shadow from the hat. I'm kind of talking a little too fast right now, but I hope you understand what I mean. And now I'm erasing part of her back to correct the proportion. So like I said, at this point we are just trying to correct the proportion of position of everything, trying to make every piece fit together. The position of the eyes, position of the face, position of the hat, and now making the layer behind her to kind of making, instead of like a flat or instead of like a nothing in the background, I'm just gonna add some branches, shrubs, tree right behind her, because in this one what I had in mind was a complementary color scheme. So it would be like red and green, but the red's gonna be a lot more stronger. The green may be a little less saturated, but it will be sort of the majority of the image will be sort of more green. And so I could say it's green dominant, and then red would be secondary, but red will be stronger and will be more saturated since it's like at the focal point. So now I'm gonna make another layer on top of the portrait here. Then now I'm gonna reposition the shadow and try to get the value onto the right spot, and have the contour of the shadow go along the contour of the face, and trying to get the value of the face correct. And then using soft brush to kind of making transition on some part, like if I'm trying to make a soft edge, then I'll use a soft brush. But most of the time I would try to avoid using soft brush and use a hard edge brush instead, even though sometimes I'm trying to make a soft edge, soft brush with low opacity. Hard edge brush with low opacity can create a pretty good soft edge also. Now I'm repositioning the head, make it a little wider, coming out a little bit more. Then I'm adding a lighter part on the edge of the hat. Then I'm using texture brush, trying to get some shadow onto her hair. So now, as you can see, I'm looking to make the form a bit more stronger. So now I'm zooming in a little bit. So now I'm gonna get the position of the eyes and the iris and the eyelash and everything. So zooming in a little bit more so I can see a little bit how I'm gonna positioning the detail inside the shape. So once you get the shape, the detail that you're gonna this is not quite like detail, but it's sort of like a detail. So once you get the shape, you're gonna try to put more value inside the shape. So within the shape, if the shape is in the shadow, then the value that you put in is going to be dark. And if you're trying to add more detail onto the light, make sure that your value on the light doesn't cross the cutoff line with the shadow. So whatever value you use in the light cannot be darker than the value that you use in the shadow, basically. But there's always an exception, but most of the time it's going to be like that. Separate your light and shadow. If your light has a certain value range, then stay within that value range. But your value range will depend on the local value of the material, or like say for instance, the local value, what I mean, the local value is the skin. So if the skin has a local value of X, then you're going to stay within the X. And then the hat has a local value of the light and shadow, and then you do not cross that threshold of the light and value. Like you cannot use the value of the shadow in the light, and you cannot use the value of the range of the light within the shadow. So you're gonna have that cutoff point that you're gonna stay. So you can be sure that the light's in the light and the shadow is in the shadow. Now I'm adding a little bit darker line on, a little bit darker, slightly darker, really subtle value on the nose to kind of like trying to reshape her nose a little bit more. And now I think I'm kind of gonna mess it up a little bit. So retweaking, reshaping, and the value that I'm using is the local value around there. So I'm not picking like a really dark value unless I really need the dark value. Like for instance, the nostril. Nostril is gonna get pretty dark, so I'm gonna put a darker value in the nostril because it's gonna go, it's inside and it has that darker part. And now I'm reshaping the nose a little bit, pushing value around, and trying to get the correct shape and the correct value. And whatever I'm doing now, basically I'm trying to maintain and not trying to change as much, maintain the value that I already established. If the overall part's going to get darker, that's overall is going to get darker, and if the overall is going to get lighter, then the overall that shape is going to get lighter, and the light's going to be in the light and the dark's going to be in the dark. So now I'm going to move the lips up a little bit. I'm going to cut it. I merge everything down again for the figure, and then I'm going to move the lip up, and then I'm going to move the nose and the lip up all together, the whole chin up a little bit more. So that's going to be the position of the face that I want. Make her face a little shorter. I'm then going to move the eyes a little bit, cut it, copy it out, paste it, move it downward a little. So it's like basically most of it are a little subtlety, moving things around to get to the position that you really want them to be. So now I merge everything down onto that one piece. Then I'm going to copy, cut that, or copy that again and move it slightly up, just slightly, not a lot. So a lot of things is just like it's more about precision and subtlety and how you want your face to look. If it's a little too long, move them up a little bit. The distance between the nose and the lip, the distance between the eyes, in between the eyes or the eye from the nose, how it's so that just kind of, that's going to be your call because everybody have a different take on what looks good for the portrait. Anyway, so I'm merging everything down, and now I'm using dodge about 20% and just gonna dodge that part that get hit by the highlight, especially you see on the cheek on her face that come right out of the cast shadow. That's pretty light right there, and then the rest of them are still kind of, it's light, but it's gonna be, you know, not as light as that highlight there. So now I'm reshaping the nose a little bit. It's slightly darker than the light part of the side of her cheeks, and then as it come down onto her lips, I'm gonna keep that shadow side. So what I'm tweaking here is like I'm tweaking the light, pushing the light a little bit further, and in the shadow I'm pushing the shadow a little bit darker to make enough contrast until I get to the balance or the enough contrast that I want. Then I'm going to stop pushing it and then keep tweaking the shape of light and shadow. So it's basically how you interpret light and how you it's basically all of it is about shape and how you retweak the shape. Like what this is like, I'm just moving shape around, moving value around, and trying to get them into the right place. It's not about how many value you're going to put in to get it close. Then you just keep your values simple and kind of move it around and make sure that you have the right shape and the right edges for each part. Now I'm going to paint her hair down onto her back a little bit more, because I think it should be that part, and then the hair in the shadow. And as you can see, the hair in the shadow, I paint it really dark because it's kind of further away, and if it's get hit by the light on some part, then it's going to have the lighter part of the hair. So just kind of imagine like you have like this inside of the cone or inside of the U shape, that part of the hair that's coming around your head, and some parts inside the shadow. So now I'm adding some a little bit lighter value onto the nose, and on the side of the nose, and then on top of the nose, bringing the value of the shadow inside a little bit. And a lot of time when and then I'm adding a little bit of shadow highlight there, just to bring the nose up to the toward us a little bit more, and then moving the highlight or the light on her cheek around the top of her upper lips a little bit more. Then moving the light around, making a soft edge, and most of the hard edge will be like a cast shadow and the rest. So I know like when I'm explaining it, sometimes it seems a little confusing, but really it's if you paint a lot, then it's simple enough. Like, you know, you gotta separate the light and shadow, and having a solid clear cut of where the lights are and where the shadows are, it's gonna help you when you're trying to bring the detail out to life. And now I'm tweaking the shape of the hat, making it a little bit wider to create a more dramatic shadow in the back. Once you separate the light and shadow and know what value to use in the light and what range of value to use in the shadow, then it will get easier, but you have to kind of separate them to begin with. Here I'm going to paint that underarm. I think in the end I kind of shrink her shoulder down a little bit, make it skinnier, because like look like she got a big shoulder right there. Maybe she got big bone to work out, I don't know. Then the finger in the light, I mean the finger in the shadow, index finger is in the shadow because it's underneath the hat. So there. Then retweaking the shape. It's gonna take a lot of like thinking and precision to get all the right shadow and the correct light onto the face. And this one I do not have reference, if you wonder. I'm just kind of trying to figure out where the light and the shadows are. Alright, so but when you don't have a reference, you gotta set it right off the bat that you gonna, you know, have light and shadow. Now I'm using a color balance to bring back the saturation a little bit more onto her skin, because I think her skin is a little bit too yellow. I'm just gonna bring some red to it. On the highlight, I'm gonna put a little bit toward the cool And on shadow, I'm going to put a little bit toward the warm, so bring out the red and the pink on her skin a little bit more. Then I'm going to make another layer on top. And now I'm just going to start painting using normal layer. Now I have like the light layout and the shadow layout. I can go in and start adding more detail, like the white of the eyes, maybe add a little bit of highlight. And now just kind of adding a little bit of detail. Notice where the light's coming from, and trying to make sure that she looks I'm trying to make sure that the position of her iris is locking at the same spot, so that she look at the same direction. Otherwise it's gonna look like she have cross eyes. If you have sometimes it take me a long time to get the eyes to the right position, but you have to kind of set that up from the beginning so you don't make a cross eye. Then I'm gonna add a little light there. It's gonna be more shadow on that side, but the shadow is not gonna be as dark as a cast shadow from on her top. Just gonna be lighter. So it's gonna be like the, you know, as the light hitting the side of your face, the other side, as imagine that there's a plane on your face that turn as it going away. Then on the opposite side of the face, that's going to be the shadow side. But since it's not a cast shadow, so it's going to be lighter than the part of her face that have a cast shadow. So on the side of her lower part of the face, the shadow is lighter than the top part of her face, which is receiving a cast shadow. So now I'm trying to add some color onto her lips. And just trying to get the shape right, position right, and trying to get color and value the same as what it was. I'm not trying to change it as much. And maybe some highlight on there because the light gonna hit there a little bit, but the highlight's not gonna be as light since it's kind of going into the part that the plane shift and change into the shadow a little bit. But her lips, her lower lip's gonna pop out a little more, so it's gonna receive a little bit of highlight. So basically all this light and shadow depending on the plane of the surface of the object and the form. As the plane changes, the light changes and shift direction. So, and then it also depends on whatever the obstacle for the light. The obstacle, like for instance the hat in this case, gonna block the light from hitting the face, so you got that cast shadow. So you have to think whenever you come up with your own thing, or it's better practice from a lot of reference, but when you're trying to come up with your own illustration or come up with your own lighting or something from imagination, try to imagine everything in terms of planes and how the plane changes, and trying to be consistent with how the light hit a certain plane, and that plane is going to be lighter, and as the plane change, the plane will get darker and darker and darker, and as the plane facing away from the light is going to get the darkest. And so that's like the obstacle. Just think of like whatever that's going to be obstacle, like the arm will be the obstacle for the side of your torso, so that's why it's cast a shadow, and you're going to have the occlusion shadow on the armpit, the darkest shadow, and then fingers, for instance the hand will cast a shadow, and part of it will get covered by some part of the hat. That's why receiving the dark, like on the index finger and the thumbs, and then the pinky will get more light because it's kind of away from that shadow cast of the hat. So there's a lot of things to think about. It's like mathematics, you know. Just if you think about it carefully, then you're gonna nail it most of the time. But nothing is perfect. I mean, you come up with something is you're gonna kind of somehow make a little mistake. But the less mistake you make, the more accurate it's gonna look, and the more realistic it's gonna look with the light and shadow. So you think about it logically, it's make a lot of sense when you start painting think of the plane, how the plane change and where the light would hit, and you have to think about also the local value, local color. If the local, like when the light hit the hat, the value is not going to be the same as the light hit the skin, because the local value are different to begin with, and the local color also different to begin with. Like, you know, if the skin has a lighter value than the hat, or the skin have the darker value than the hat, or the hair has, you know, different value from the skin and the hat also. So the base value, and then from the base value you go into the dark with the shadow and the light value, and then you have to kind of take all of that into the account. And I think I talked too much. I think I might confuse myself. You have any questions? Post them on the comment. And yeah, so there you have a cast shadow from the nose right there. I was thinking about saying something, but I kind of forgot. And then slowly, so now see, like I'm trying to clean up the part, and within the shadow I'll try to, inside the shape, I'm trying to soften everything as much as I can, and to make sure that the shape is a solid shape. As you can see, like in the beginning it's like a bunch of scribble, but now I'm starting to clean up everything in the light and clean up everything in the shadow. But I'll make sure I have the hard edge between the light and the shadow, and then there'll be a transition. It depends on, like, if it's round, then you're gonna have a transition from light to shadow and not the hard edge. Like, see, from the bottom of her cheek, of her right cheek, which is the left side of the screen, you have that transition. But if the plane change, you can, and how the light react to the object, you might have a harder edges. So here we almost there. Then painting her upper lips with the shadow, a little bit darker pink there. Alright, this video is gonna be pretty long, so now I'm cleaning up her eyebrows a little bit and cleaning up the in-between cast shadow and the light. I'm going to tone down the darkness of her eyebrows a little bit more, so it's a little more natural. Shouldn't be that dark. Then adding some occlusion shadow on the hair, and then clean up that side of her eyes, and see, now I'm cleaning up, make them a little more solid as part of like darker shadow and lighter shadow. And try to make some lighter part underneath her lower eyelash, the skin part of that, because there's a little bit of bounce light that hit up, kind of like same as the underneath her lower lips, that it has, you can see that lighter part that hit it, so that's kind of like the bounce light that coming down, because it's kind of casting from below because it's a strong light. Then a little bit of highlight on the nose bridge, a little highlight on the cheeks. Then I'm toning down her eyebrows a little bit, make it a little bit lighter rather than have it way too dark, so actually it looked like a bunch of hair instead. Alright, so I think I'm running out of things to talk about. And then a little bit of shadow on the different plane of her eyes, like her eyelid, and then the side of the skin between the side of the nose bridge and the top of your eyelid. Just a little subtlety there. And yes, I paint that far away and I still can see. I can actually see better, unless I really want something that I need a lot of precision, then I'll zoom in again. Then I tweak the shape of the head a little bit more, and I'm gonna use some texture brush to get the hair and something down. And tone that a little bit darker. Add some light to the eyes. I mean, the eyes will get whiter on that part of the shadow, but if you measure the value of the white of the eyes in the shadow and the white of the eye in the light is not the same value. It might look light. It looks light in the context of the shadows around it. So now I'm flipping the canvas, because flipping the canvas is a good way to make sure that your proportion is correct. And at this point I didn't show any layer because I just paint on one layer on top. And I've been painting on one layer for maybe about half an hour. Then I'm painting a little bit darker value there, trying to clean up the lips a little bit more. Now I'm going to clean up the arm and trying to smooth that out. And there'll probably be no strong shadow here. It's just going to be really soft shadow because the arm curving around, and most of it will get hit by the light, so there won't be any strong cast shadow or any strong shade of paint. So that's not going to be a hard edge on the shadow, just going to be a lot of soft edge and nice transition. But then I'm going to have to make the arm a little skinnier. There we go. Then you're going to have the hard edge from underneath the arm because it's cast a little bit of the shadow. And that's pretty much it. And then on the occlusion shadow, going to happen in around the armpit area. A little darker on the underside. Not too dark, just a little more subtlety. Then I'm going to erase the top part of the arm a little bit on the other side to make it slimmer. Put some hair on top of the arm to create the silhouette, so it's got a skinnier part of the arm right there. Alright, so I think that's about the right width of the arm that I want. Then I'll use a texture brush to kind of create some transition on the arm a little bit. Then clean up the forearm. I'm going to make it a little thinner because the forearm is not supposed to be that big. There we go. So basically we're almost done. And a little bit of corrections. So now you kind of get, now you can get to, I get to the point that I can, okay, it's almost there, all the light shadows there. Now I can play around using texture brush and trying to get the correct shape of everything. I'm gonna add a little bit more detail onto her eye and eyebrows. So I'm gonna add her eye color probably. And I think this is why it takes me over a little bit over and out, because I'm going to a little bit more detail since it's a portrait. Usually when you do a character you don't get too caught up on the face, but if you're doing a portrait then you're gonna have to go in and try to get it to look nice on the eyelash and everything else. Just kind of got carried away. I'm gonna add thicker eyelash and then add some light on top of the skin behind the eyelash on her lower eyelid. Then some eyelash coming out, kind of positioning her iris and the way she stares, so she's supposed to look like right straight at you. Then I'm just kind of picking the color from there and trying to repaint it back. The value doesn't change much, just reshaping the value that already there. So I'm gonna pick a little green and bluish green because it's kind of opposite to the red. So it's gonna give it a nice complement, but it's gonna be a little desaturated. A little bit more greenish blue, not totally blue, a little more green. And in the dark I'm gonna have to make it kind of darker, and the light's gonna have to be a little bit lighter or more pale. So that's darker blue in there, and then the lighter blue greenish. And if you look at the edge scale, it's kind of green, but when you paint it in, it's a little bit more blue because the surrounding of it it's yellow, so it's forcing the green blue to look more blue. So there, the lighter iris, and then adding a lighter part on the bottom of the iris, usually because the light hit there more, because on the top part usually get the shadow cast from the eyelash, so you get more shadow on top of your iris, so the color get darker. Alright, and now I'm adding some highlight, which might be a little bit too light, not sure. And then as I zoom in at this point, I will always keep looking at my navigator and see if the value is still maintained. I will not introduce new value into any part of it unless I have a good reason to. And usually if I'm going to introduce a new value, I'll zoom out and make sure that the value fit in the overall picture. Now I'm just reshaping the eyes a little bit, moving the value around, and if you notice, from the point on that I paint on one layer here, which is on top of the original layer, I only use 100% opacity, and I have a pressure sensitivity on. Can't think of the word. I was like, what? Then even though that dark of the eye or the pupil is dark, but in the light it will be lighter than the dark of the eyes in the shadow, if you notice. So there, but I'm gonna have to resize it a little bit maybe. And then skin there, almost there. Now just kind of tweaking the detail and refine, reshaping, put the value into the right place, moving things up and down a little bit more. It's about the subtlety and precision, and you know how you want them to look from now, because all the light and shadow is already there. So now just a little touch up, moving things around. Basically you see nothing change at all, just slightly small changes. I add some stuff, putting some stuff in, but I'm using the value that I picked from there, and you can see I'll use like the color picker and brush, color picker and brush, alternate. So now we got the light and shadow. Now I'm gonna zoom out to see if everything looks clean and clear. Then I adding up a little more shadow on the side of the face. Pushing a little bit more bounce light onto the eye socket. Adding a little bit more darker line. See, like within the shadow you can still add detail within the shadow. As you can see, like, you know, there's a darker value in the shadow on the side of the face, a lighter value on some part, and same as in the light. So, but what you have to do most importantly is value control. Value control, and then edges, transition. So there. Now try to make the outer edge of the face a little bit sharper. Add back some highlight because I think I get rid of it. And then add the highlight onto your eyes on the lighter part. Alright, and then I'm going to add some texture brush on the hair. So I'm going to add the lighter value as it part when it's come right out of the shadow. There's the lighter part, and then some hair in the shadow. It's going to be darker value. Then some using texture brush to create a little more interesting looking painting. Try to make it look painterly for the hair. Changing brushes, experiment with brush, and just kind of stay in the light, stay in the shadow. And then that part of the hair should be hit by the light on her back. And then let's go into the shadow. And then more strand of hair, getting some lighter part coming out and a little bit slightly darker on the light side to separate the hair strand. Then I'm trying to add a lighter value on the red, but that doesn't work. Let's just skip that because I get rid of it in the end. And now I'm adding the darker shadow on the top of her head slightly. Then I'm not going to paint the hand totally because that's going to take another maybe 20 minutes. So I'm just going to leave it loose, but making the silhouette to make it a little more bearable to look at. Then adding some highlight on the shoulder, some lighter part onto the finger, and make the finger come out a little more. Her pinky, her ring fingers, hit by the light, some shadow. Alright, some lighter part of the red. You see that the white part on the red hat, that's just mistake. And here's the final image. I end up adding a little freckle on her because I thought I like freckles, they look cool. And then I make the leaf a little more green. So basically from here I tweak the color a little bit. That's the final that we paint from the last time. Then I tweak the color a little bit using color balance. Actually it's this one. So from there to here I add a little bit more plants, and it's lost the green as I tweak. It become a little more red, so I basically put the green back onto the leaf and then make her body pop out a little more. And then I clean up her body a little bit on the lips, like there. Let's take a little bit of, and then lighten up that eyelash on the light so it looks like a little more natural, and then lighten up some of the part of the skin that get hit by the light, like right here on the highlight on the hair, highlight on the hair here, and then over there. So anyways, here is the final image. And if you're interested in the giveaway, one free spot for the digital painting workshop class is a live class that you will go to my website and click class, and then you're going to see that. Then I'm going to give one spot away for free. It's a 5-week course, start from January 16 to February 13. So it's every 1 hour every Saturday morning in US time. Even in Europe and you want to participate, it's fine. And everyone's come from all over the place. So as long as you can make it in time, you can have that. So what you do is just comment something below. You can just hi whatever and be a subscriber and comment down below. Then you automatically enter into the free giveaway. And I'm just gonna announce the winner just right before January 16. That's before the class starts. Within that week, if I'm uploading the video, then you're gonna know which one of you get the free pass to the class. Yeah, just subscribe and comment below. And if you are interested in attending the class, and just click on the right hand side of the screen, top right, then you're gonna see some mentorship class and some group class and premium video tutorial, which is pretty useful. Most of them are like 2 hours long, and I have a ton of them from character design to whatever the hell that's there. So just take a look at them and support the free video and support the website, and I will keep the free video coming, and it depends on what I'm thinking at the time. This one, it's a lot of fun to do. I haven't done portrait in a while. So anyways, yeah, subscribe and post down below, and you automatically enter the free giveaway. One spot for the class starting January 16th. But you have to have a Photoshop and a Wacom tablet to be able to attend the class. Otherwise, you can't. It's not drawing class, it's painting class, digital painting to be precise. Alright, well, thank you for watching the video, and I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to like and share it with your friend or something. Alright, bye bye.